Hi, welcome back to Project Grēf. This is episode 4 with my good friends, Chris and Emily. Hi,
Oh,
Chris.
hi.
Hello.
So I asked Chris and Em to do a duo episode together because you're siblings.
We are blood. We share the same blood. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
No, I just thought it would be fun to do a little family episode. So thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive in. So
Here
Project
we go.
Grēf, I know, here we go. We're going straight into it, deep end. No, I mean we can start a little bit lighter. So I met you, Chris, at Soul Cycle
Yes.
some 10 plus years ago. I don't know. And then that's how I met you, Emily, which is lovely. When I met you both, you had already experienced your impactful grief.
Hmm.
So if you could just share a real quick what your most impactful grief was, I would love to hear.
Our dad passed away May 31st of 2013. And yeah, I didn't think I would actually get emotional today, but it is happening. Yeah. I think it's one of those things. Well, because what's today?
So,
Today's July. And so
yeah.
that was like a little over a month ago. And I didn't really feel any sort of big feelings on my dad's anniversary. But I think just like talking about it and being here with my sisters make me feel things, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our grief. How did you say it?
I call it
Grief incident?
impactful grief.
Impactful grief.
Yeah,
Impactful grief.
impactful. It's the one that like really shakes our sense of normalcy, and whether that's um
Oh yeah,
grief
like
with death or grief without death, it's just that like those impactful moments. So
well, I think one of the most impactful griefs, at least that I had, and we both experienced friends that passed away in like late high school, early college. I think senior year is when we both had people pass away that we knew, and that was our first. And our grandpa had passed away when we were younger. High school for you, I'm younger. So um,
episode is not for children. Episode is not for children.
so um but I would say those two were really impactful for prepping us for, I guess you could call it the big whammy one, which is I never thought that dad would be gone before we experienced adult life fully together. So I'm talking a lot.
We knew that would
That's
happen.
okay. We knew this would happen. Yeah, it's been 12 years and there was, I mean, these impactful griefs that you talk about. There's life before that moment and life after that moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's just been interesting to see how things have evolved over the past 12 years. It is weird to say that number because I remember that first year, every month, like every time I'd hit the milestone of his passing, um, just being like, I can't believe I have to do this for the rest of my life. I can't, because it felt so slow because of how drastic the change was at first.
Mhm.
But then now it is weird because while the pain is different, it's still there. But like how he got emotional randomly, it feels more spontaneous than it does like every moment. Yes, just the raw pain of losing someone so fresh. But yeah.
Thank you both for sharing. I would like to dive into, you said it was before the moment he died, after the moment he died, and feeling differently. How, as siblings, has your relationship shifted from before he passed until after he passed?
Well, when we were kids, we were super competitive with each other. Um, and I would say like as we got into high school, we started to get closer and Yeah, they definitely shifted and we started having actual like fun with each other. Um and but I would say that our grief journey together as siblings started when we found out about his diagnosis and how like we would like after we got certain phone calls about bad news or whatever it was, like we were was I out of I was out of college. Yes, I was out of college, but you were senior year. That's right. Because I remember going to the house that you lived in, where you had a lot of roommates, right? And so we were like, we chose to be together in person to try to process what was happening with each other. Um, and I think we're a very talkative family. So I feel like we always kind of overshare sometimes, but I think it helped us. Oh, it helped us. Just to have the conversations when we needed it of recognizing how to be there for each other in the moments where we could tell that the other person was struggling.
The question was, how has it impacted our relationship?
Yeah, or how has your relationship shifted? Because I know a lot of times impactful deaths like that can shift things in one direction or the other. People either grow further apart, and from what I've noticed, y'all are
Oh
so
yeah.
dang tight. And so I'm just wondering if that was part of the shift and anything that like you've changed in your relationship after going through that.
I don't, sorry, you can.
I think that we've learned how to hold space better for each other.
They hold each other like
Yeah, I don't know that. I'm sorry I failed you. Okay. What were we talking about? Welcome to ADHD. Holding space for each other. After he passed, do you remember you were with mom in Chicago for a while and we went to that family counseling session or therapy session? Do you remember this? No?
With my therapist, right?
Yes. Yeah. And she recommended that the three of us sit down together and just kind of talk about the way that we were processing things, about like what is hard for us and all the things. And one of the things that I remember her saying from that moment was she recognized how unique the situation was between the three of us with our family because of how easy it was for us to kind of share and listen and not like immediately jump to conclusions or get angry with each other or anything. It was just, we were just there and like taking up space with each other in this pain that we were all experiencing, even though it looked different for each of us. And I just remember her saying that. And she said, you guys have a really special family. And I feel like I've always felt that from when we were younger. And it was interesting. I'm reading this book actually about grief right now. And the person in the book talks about how she had to go from she talks about geometry and how they went from a square to a triangle and how to like shift those relationships now because you were used to the four of you, right? And now it's a triangle. And I remember I felt that like when we went to family gatherings with each other and just like there's this huge part missing, right? But I think that because of like the angles of a triangle, I feel like it has made us and our mom so much stronger together. Like even though we're definitely missing that other corner part.
Yeah, I would definitely say that we sure it maybe trauma bonded us a little bit, but at the same time, it revealed our true colors. And like, I recognize how special it is to have a sibling that I give her so much shit all the time, but like, I truly enjoy her presence, and to have a mom that like I enjoy talking to and don't feel obligated to like it feels like a privilege to have these relationships. And I think that is one of the byproducts of dad dying is it made our relationships feel even more rich. And like I know it was kind of interesting for my husband when he first like came to the family of like we text every single day, multiple times a day. I call them multiple times a day, and that's just who that's in our DNA as a family. And so I would to answer your question, dad's death absolutely strengthened our relationships together. And to bounce off of Emily, it's a different shape of a family that we have now. And to think and going back to what I now like you talking about the therapist, what that session helped us realize is that we were all grieving different roles that dad played in our life, even though we're grieving the same person. And that helped, number one, it allowed me to have compassion for myself, and then compassion for the way Emily was grieving, and Emily was newly married, and um, compassion for my mom of losing a partner and a friend and a co-parent and grieving the future of what that was. So yes. Oh, and I think it one of the things that my dad dying helped me do is, and sometimes I can be a little stubborn, and it helped me have in the back of my head the empathetic pause of you truly never know what is rocking someone's world. And for me, it changed how I interacted with my whole entire world. And so if I was interacting with myself as a stranger and people don't know me, it's like, oh, they might be able to read into certain behaviors or words or actions. And it helped me think of maybe there's someone else going through that too.
I love that. Um, so empathy, huge shifts in your communication and holding space for one another. I think, I mean, from my experience, and I've seen it in both of you as well, is like that knowing that when there's like silly, trivial things, like it's almost that like it's not that serious factor as well. Like
Yeah.
when you've been through some real shitty, horrific grief, like the trivial stuff is just so like it helps with the empathy. You know, it's like it's just not that serious. I'm not going to get that
Yeah.
mad. You don't know what someone else is going through.
And like there's times where you forget about it. And then you're like, it allows you to take a pause and think about how maybe there needs to be a shift in focus so that what truly matters comes to the forefront again, like especially when you're such in the thick of grief in the first year, it feels like you're the only person that has put on these new pair of glasses and nobody else can see what life is actually like. And then slowly but surely your eyes adjust to that new prescription, and sometimes you might just need an adjustment of that prescription.
I like that analogy. I always use like in your first year of grief, it feels like you're moving in slow motion and everyone else is moving in fast motion, like around you, like a tornado or like speeding by. But you're just like, wait a second, everything is still for me so slow. And every day, every minute, every hour, you feel something. But oh, yeah.
I feel like, especially looking back on it, there's things that I know I was clouded by my grief that maybe I wasn't able to show up the way that I wanted to, or have the capacity to contribute in the way that I wanted to. And now now getting to the other side where I feel like I can breathe essentially. There's compassion for that version of me, but also like we were talking about before, compassion for other people that like you just don't know what's happening in their world where their capacity might be different. And I think giving myself that grace was the first step to seeing the good in other people too. It definitely has allowed me to be, we were raised to see the good in people, but it has helped me not just see it in theory, but practice it.
Yeah. I think it's also shown your growth in the ability to even share the perspective of because your dad died, this is where this is where you are now, and all of these amazing lessons. Because there's a lot of people who are still not even to that stage yet, but it does it gives people a lot of hope to understand that the perspective of like I had to go through that grief in order to become who I am now. It's a really, really tough perspective, and it doesn't, lessen the impact that the grief had on you. It's just I have evolved to this state where I can now say I have learned this because dad died. And that's yeah, I knew you I was like I,
I was
knew you
like,
were gonna say
I was
something.
like, it, especially with grief, there's probably a lot of things that can be said to you where you're like, oh, the intention was there, the impact is not happening. One of the things that has really helped me is not like people say everything happens for a reason. And I don't really believe that. I think every like things happen to you and you can find a reason of what you can extract from it, like a learning from it. And I think that is something that softened my edges because I think people are just doing the best with what they know. And sometimes they say silly stuff to you and you're like, what's the reason for my dad dying then, bitch? Like, what, why would you say something like that? But and there's so many things on the other side of my dad passing that feel like precious gemstones that I hold tight.
So I'm with you on the everything happens for a reason, or like he's in a better place, or like he's not suffering, like all those like cliche things that people throw at you. Ooh, we got some lightning and thunder here. There's a lot of cliche things that are thrown at you, and everyone is doing the best they can, and not everyone has experienced grief and has the tools and resources. So part of what I want to share on Project Grief is some tools, some ideas. Like, were there things that people said to you that really helped you in a positive
helped
way?
me.
Yeah, helped
I immediately
you.
went to the crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
The crazy ones I feel like we've all heard, but anything that someone said or a way that they held space that really felt comforting or felt safe or just, supported you?
I think for me, it was just when my friends would allow me the time and space just to talk about him and just to listen and even ask for stories. That to me was like acknowledging the fact that my world has shifted drastically and knowing that like he's not here anymore, but he's very much still alive to me. Like and always will be. Like I will always have this memory of this man that raised me and loved me and that I loved back. And I love to be able to talk about him. And sometimes in our society, we shut that down or put a time limit on the amount of times that you can talk to somebody about somebody that's passed away. But it doesn't end. It doesn't stop. Like I will, until my time comes, like I will always have this part of my soul that misses him. And any chance that I can where people want to talk about him, I totally will.
Okay, give me a good story. What's one of your favorite funny stories about your dad?
One, he was the most stubborn man on the planet. And so one of my favorite stories is when we were going out to dinner one night. I don't know if we were celebrating something as a family, but we were going to Outback Steakhouse. And
classy. I remember that was our classy.
I mean, I was like blooming onion all the way. But we were driving there in the car And my dad was like, where is it? Where's the restaurant? And he couldn't find it. And I was like, I don't know if it was me or you or whoever, but I was like, I think it's like the next street or two over. And he's like, no, no, it's not. And so sure enough, he can't find it on his own. So eventually he ends up turning and all the things. Lo and behold, the Outback Steakhouse is where we said it was. And we were like, okay, Dad. And he just goes, they must have moved it. And we were like, they moved it 2 blocks over.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you couldn't be wrong.
That's a good one.
Do you have
What about
any?
you, Chris? Yeah, what's a good?
I had something to say about the question that you had before. What was that?
Something that someone
Oh,
around you did.
yeah. I had some of my best friends in the world, Carter and Paige. They could write a master class on holding space, and they never forced anything, but they never ignored anything either. And so I think one of the things that you can do to someone that is freshly grieving is say something. And if you don't know what to say, just be like, I don't know what to say. I love you. I'm here for you. And
That's a big one.
that can mean so many different things and open up a two-way street, because when you're in the thick of it, you don't know which way is up, which way is left, which way is right.
You don't always know what you need.
You don't know what you need.
Yeah.
And so they showed up, and they just, I know we said held space before, but they were there. And I don't remember a single thing that they said, but I just remember that they were there and how they made me feel. And so that would be my number one, is to make these moments matter by showing up and saying something. And if you mess up, you mess up. But like it never can hurt to admit that you don't know what to say.
Yeah, if your energy is to not fix, if you're going at the situation like they weren't trying to fix you, they weren't trying to solve for anything, because there's nothing to be fixed or solved. Yeah. But it's just, you're exactly right. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to show up, and I'm here. It's beautiful.
One of the things that that has meant a lot to me over the years, because there was a lot that happened that first couple of years, but as time goes on, it becomes fleeting, right? The chances to talk about the person that passed away. But one of my good friends, Kimberly, she intentionally writes down the dates, birthdays, death dates, all those things that are the hard days for people, or the days that she knows she needs to be intentional about remembering. And she's one of the only people that like consistently will like reach out to me on that day, even 12 years later still, because the alarms are set in her phone, or I don't know if she has like a paper calendar or whatnot, but I just thought that was so inspirational that she takes the time to do that for her friends.
Yeah, that's
and
really awesome.
It matters, like the littlest thing like that, of just acknowledging that for somebody else's story has been really awesome.
Yeah. So you remember that you're not alone, even though your journey is solo in that. Yep. 12 years later.
That was what I was going to say, is especially later, because life has shifted so much. And when that happens, it's even more apparent that he's not a part of it, when you like take a moment to pause. And so I think as grief expands and evolves, showing up for your friends by simply remembering it, or having a system to I don't care if you have an alarm on your phone. Like it's the systems that help you show that you care to people. And that matters. Funny story about Dad. I played volleyball, and Breezy, hey, and my dad was always so vocal on the sidelines. And my dad would make up these acronyms that we had no idea what they meant. And I remember we were at Club Nationals in Kansas City, and I'm going to serve the ball. And my dad goes, OTNIP. oh, and I like, I normally like don't acknowledge what's happening, and I just like what? And then after he's like, I was saying over the net and play, and I'm like, oh, you want me to serve the ball over the net? Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So that he would have different, or AFGO is something that he would say a lot. AFGO, they were really involved in their marriage ministry at church, and then they would come back home and allow the not I don't want to say facade. It's not a facade. It's they could let their guard down a little bit more and just be like, well, it was just another AFGO, which is another fucking growth opportunity, and so yeah, and AFGO.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I do recognize how apple tree I am with my parents, and it's something that I think if I was a younger version of me would have been like, but now I'm like, I feel proud of it.
Okay, so segueing into the moving with grief, as you've talked about, 12 years later, you both are leaders in the community. So, Chris, we met at Soul Cycle, you're a fitness instructor and teacher. So, you're both leading others. How in those days where grief really makes its appearance, whether it's birthday, anniversary, whether it's just a Tuesday, as we know,
Yeah.
can be any day. But what are some of the tools you use on a regular basis to keep showing up for others so powerfully? Because you both are amazing leaders. And I know that's not always the easiest thing when we're in it.
One, thanks for saying that. Two, how do I I would say that number one, I share my experience. I think one of the most powerful things we can do for others be like, oh, me too. Not to make this, just to find commonality.
I mean,
And
that's literally the point of this.
yeah,
entire
totally.
project.
I remember this one time there was this person riding in the back row, and at Soul Cycle, we tried to move together, yada, yada, yada. And he was kind of doing his own thing. I went up to try to coach him. He's like, I'm good. And there's so many different narratives that I could have gone through in my head. And they started, and I was like, pause. Like, you don't know what's going on beneath the surface. After class, he came up to me and he said, thank you so much for class today. This is my first class that I've ridden after my son passed away. And this was the thing that we did together. And so going back to how grief has impacted me, it's caused me to press pause in my brain when my whatever narrative is happening goes off the rails, and allowed me to hold more space for them. When on like dad's anniversary, sometimes I play a song that he loves and I let them know, hey, today's my dad's anniversary and his favorite karaoke song was Love Shack. So today we're going to do Arms to Love Shack, like stuff like that. And what I've found is while it feels good for me to share and speak and feel his energy in some ways, a lot of people that have experienced that feel safe to feel what they need to feel in whatever way possible, because grief is considered taboo. I wrote my senior thesis about the way, particularly American society treats death, and we skirt through it by treating it like life or having euphemisms for life. So, for example, simply saying my dad died might feel uncomfortable for someone to hear or abrasive. What could soften those edges is my dad passed away. It's like, no, bitch, my dad died. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Or a funeral would be called a celebration of life. And it's all ways for us to kind of soften the harsh reality that something has changed. And the more that we try to push that down, the more we lose the beauty that's actually possible in it too. And so calling a spade, talking about your feelings, being real about what you're feeling, that is something that has allowed me to feel comfortable putting on a microphone and maybe saying it or mentioning it or going up to someone and asking how they're doing, knowing when it's a hard day. Yeah. I just went on rabbit trail.
No, I love it all.
Yeah.
Love it all.
I think for me, because I work with kids for the most part, and my staff members, but I'm going to relate it more so back to how I communicate like with my own kids first and foremost, because I knew like, now it's my turn to get home. I knew my babies would never get to be a person. And so it was very important for me to normalize the conversation around death because it's very much a natural part of life that we just choose not to talk about. But God forbid anything would happen to me, I want my babies to know how to process and to be able to connect with me and or to flow through their feelings the way that they need to. And so for my own grief with my kids, what I do with them is I do talk about it. Like I show them little things like what you were saying, where like I like at the song at Soul Cycle, right? Like there'll be little things like if I see a really fat squirrel, my dad always threw like stale bread and bagels just out our sliding glass door as a kid. And these squirrels loved him and they were so large compared to any other squirrels in our neighborhood. And so like when I see one in the backyard, I'll just start to share a story with my kids. And what that has sparked some really beautiful conversations with them. Yeah, and they'll ask for stories now, which is so like heartwarming to me to be able to like talk about that. And it helps me still process anything that's on my mind regarding my own grief journey. But it also helps them get to know him in a way. And one of the things that we talk about, and this kind of started when I was trying to figure out how to go about having these conversations with them, because as like kids, you want to think of what's developmentally appropriate and how to bridge certain topics that can be really hard or triggering depending upon what people have gone through. But my big thing was creating the space for it and being able to talk about it. And but also it started when they went to daycare and I went back to work, and with like separation anxiety, which is his own weird form of like grief, if you will, for kids, because they're like, where are my guardians, my parents, like not knowing where they are when they're going to come back, and they feel that their sense of security is gone. And so I was like, how do I bridge this with them to know that we can still be connected to things that are not seen anymore? And so my phrase with kids, and I tell my students this at school too, when they're missing their families, is we say, hand on our heart, never far apart. And just a simple way of like, you are always connected with your loved ones, no matter where you are, no matter where they are. And to give them a moment to do something kind of tangible of just like, put your hand on your heart and you can send them a thought, a prayer, whatever feels right to them in the moment.
And it helps you feel safe.
And it helps you feel safe, and it kind of like grounds you too, just like that physical motion of like putting your hand on your heart. And so that's one thing that we do in our family is hand on our heart, never far apart. But yeah, we talk and we ask questions, and I just am very honest with them about, because they'll ask hard stuff about like what happens when we die and all of these things. But I'm just very real with them about what I think and what I believe, but also that like there's a lot of questions that we don't know answers to. But it's okay to keep asking, and it's okay to keep talking about the way that you feel, even when it's hard.
I think Emily is so good at holding space for kids to feel their feelings. And well, no, no, she's incredible as a friend and so on and so forth. I'm just thinking of a story of how they had a fish won that they won at a fair. And but like I actually think like we laughed at the situation at first. It's hilarious. Like they won the fish and then the fish died. And for Haven and Noelle, they were what, 4 and 5 when it happened? I don't even know. Big, 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 big feelings, weeping and wailing over this carnival fish. And Emily, with her empathetic heart, was feeling with particularly Haven and weeping and wailing and watching the video back now is hilarious. But it's just one of those things where it's normalizing. It's okay to feel when you miss something or when you are losing something, like feel it out. And the fact that you create that with your family, obviously, but as a public school teacher, the fact that you are creating that space for kids is a really beautiful thing because of your experience that you had.
I agree. I think our generation wasn't raised given a toolbox on what tools to pull to handle grief. And I think that all of us as teachers now, like I watch my sister and sister-in-law and brother-in-law do it with my nieces and nephews. We do the same stuff with Owen here. You know, we have our own little tips and tricks, but it is really just like normalizing the conversations, normalizing hard conversations, normalizing feeling our feelings, normalizing holding space for one another. And so I think it's a really beautiful thing
Yeah.
they do with the girls, with the kids.
What was that?
What was yeah,
Hand on your heart, never far apart.
never far apart. It's like the kids book, the purple string one.
Invisible string.
Invisible string. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me of that.
Yeah.
Owen reads that one quite often.
Yeah.
Really good kids book. But Opta's, I think all the questions I have, are there any other tools y'all would love to share about your journeys with moving with grief? Or do you feel like you
I think just one of the most important things, which we've talked about a lot, is just to create space for it. And when you feel it out. But also, like, I love creating moments like with my family in particular that are like honoring the passions or who my dad was together. So like when we go out, I mean, we haven't been on a boat very often, but like when we went out on Lake Travis that one day and we're out on the boat, like just like floating around and talk, like I felt like we were honoring him in like having fun in the way that he loved to have fun. And just, I read this quote recently. I don't know who says it, so I'm sorry, whoever said this, but it said, like in the end, we all become stories. And so I just think stories are so powerful. And the more that we share them with each other, we honor the people that we love, whether they're here or they've passed on or died,
legacy,
right? Use the words. Yeah. 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 Say it like it is.
And died dead.
He died.
Chris, have anything else?
I'm thankful to have a partner. Brad is so emotionally intelligent and aware and in tune with how I feel. And I think that is a privilege to have. And if you don't know what to feel, like, as it may feel impossible to voice what you need, but as best as you can, if you are in the thick of grief, communicate to your loved ones what you need. And even if it's, I don't know what I need, I just need to be around someone or whatever it may be. But like, I have the people in my life that I feel safe to unravel and pick myself back up together with. And so to find those people, whether that's a therapist or whether that's your family or whether a best friend, partner, I think that would be my one piece of advice is like, people aren't mind readers and most people are nervous to have an actual conversation about what society treats as a taboo subject. And so if things were different societally, we would expect people to come to us. But like, this is one of those things where you have to be in the driver's seat of it, because no one else, unless they've driven the same car, can travel that path with you.
I think there's one other tool that I think you use.
Tell
Maybe I'm
me.
off, but it's the same for me, but movement in a literal sense.
Oh yeah.
Marathons and
Duh.
um,
I think
yeah.
moving your body is one of the most incredible things that you can do when you are in an emotional state of grief, especially in like the raw thickness of the beginning stages of it. I am so thankful for that version of me who knew like I needed to do something, because I ended my job in California, went back to Chicago to be with my mom, didn't have a job or anything lined up, and but I knew that I needed something physical, and I signed up for a marathon and started training for it, and that was what led me to Lululemon, which eventually led me to Soul Cycle, which led me to Brad 100%. And so allowing whatever happens physically in your fascia, in your body, and all that, like all of our emotions are present in our body. And so like letting it go, sweating, like letting yourself be a vessel, if you will, can help bring clarity or a semblance of peace in a sense.
I think, and some relief to the physiological feelings you experience with grief as well, because that is something that sometimes gets forgotten, right? We focus on the emotional, we focus on the feelings, but it's like physically our body chemistry changes when dealing with grief. So yeah, the somatic practices. But yeah, it was running for me too right away. That was like the go-to. I'm like, I'm just going to run, not running from feelings, but just running until I felt something let go.
I was going to say, like, I think therapy matched with movement is one of the most beautiful things you can do. That was my experience. Was I was seeing a counselor and I was training, and I felt like I was able to put the tools that I was emotionally given from my therapist into practice in my physicality. And it really worked like a beautiful combination to help me move through it, not move away from it, like you were saying, but move with it. And it's part of who I am. It's a part of who we are. And so it's not about like making peace with it quicker. I think it's just more about welcoming it into the environment of who you are, that can be really nourishing.
To like piggyback off of that with creating space or moving with your body and all that stuff, I'm also just a big fan of finding ways to create, like whatever that is for you. So to let what's up here show in a different way, whether it's art, whether it's dance, whether it's writing, that one's been a big one for me, of like, just get it from here to somewhere else. So it's almost like a tangible visual thing for you to represent what it is you're going through in that moment. And it feels good. It is. It's like a release, like you're saying, when you're moving your body. But when something is from here to there, it feels better. Yeah. It feels
it's
like therapy.
Yeah. The 2 weeks after my grandma died, 2 weeks after my grandma died, I died.
How dare you use the wrong term?
Soften it. No, when my grandma died, creative outlets are my other thing. And I took pictures. It was this beautiful family picture we had of her with all of my cousins, so like all the grandkids. And I put it onto a canvas and then wrote a message in Italian and painted. So painting for me was another one, just painted. I love that. But like made gifts for everyone in my family to have that on their walls after. But it's the same. It's that physical. So yeah, it's a good call out to remind art, writing, poetry for a lot of people. But anything to just exactly get that physical release.
And we both got tattoos with our dad's handwriting on it.
Love.
And so show yours to the camera. Emily got a happy heart, and that was directly from a note that dad wrote you, correct?
He used to write me notes, and this is how he would sign it. And
cool.
I think he always wrote dad next to it, but I always knew that if I were to ever get a tattoo, this was going to be it for sure. And it took me like a decade to do it and lots of peer pressure, especially from this guy. Just do it.
I knew she wanted to do it. And so it was just one of those moments. We were celebrating her birthday. She had a couple libations. We went to a piano bar, and there she's sitting in the chair being like, I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I don't regret it. It's just like making peace with the fact that she had a tattoo, but now it's like, I want to have fun. Mine is his handwriting, and it says, I love you now and forever, Dad. And it's right on my thigh, so I get to see it every day. And
And
so
you wear the shorty 3-inch shorts.
and
You
now
really
I wear
showed
the
off.
shorts where everybody can see it too. So you're welcome.
Well, thank you both for being honest and vulnerable and for
Mm.
sharing. I truly believe that the more stories I can help share, the more people that we can help and just feel that little bit of I'm not alone, or maybe this tool or that tool that you shared can help someone. So I really appreciate your time.
We love you, Breezy.
Love you.
We love you.
Love you. Thank you.
Yay.